Hi, I'm Rick Lobdell. Welcome to another episode of Concrete Mystique, the podcast. This show is brought to you by Epoxy Depot. Go to epoxydepotusa.com and check out all their great products. Follow me on all social media platforms. Today on the show, Stephen Moore Jr. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Concrete Mystique podcast. Today I'm here with Steve Moore Jr. Now, first of all, you always say junior, right?
Yeah, I mean, usually.
I mean, if I were to say Steve Moore, you would think I'm talking to your dad?
Yeah, yep. It was always Steve. I just kind of went by Steven, but I get Steven, whatever.
So it is, so you'd prefer Steven?
Either one's fine.
That's fine. I was just curious. I mean,
Steven's like more, like my dad was always Steve and I was Steven, so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we are here at the amazing Epoxy Floor Wars in what's the town?
It's Cleona, Lebanon.
Cleona.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cleona, Lebanon area of Pennsylvania.
Correct.
How long have you lived here?
I live in Harrisburg, which is about 40 minutes from here. I moved here, about 18 years ago.
Wow. Where did you live before that?
Michigan.
Michigan?
Yep.
Oh, man, I thought we were going to get along. You just messed everything up. I'm from Ohio, so that's not going to go well at all. Please tell me you're a Michigan State fan and not a Michigan fan.
I'm not. I'm an import to Michigan also. I came originally from New Mexico, from a town called Belen.
Okay, I feel better now. And you moved away from Michigan, which is another positive, too.
Absolutely. No, Michigan's great. I have a lot of family up there. It's awesome. I love Pennsylvania.
So you own Epoxy Depot?
Yes, sir.
And how did that all come about? Like, what made you decide to open up a store and expand and create this world that you've created in the last couple of years?
It's a great question. So I started out in construction, and I went from, I was a volunteer firefighter EMT, and I was a contractor. And we did a lot of firehouses and EMS buildings because I knew a lot of people in that space and went to the conferences and all that. So part of the specs of building these were floor coatings. And we had a hard time finding subcontractors, so we ended up having our guys do it. We were doing Duraflex systems back then.
The guys at the place were doing it all together by themselves?
My crew.
Your crew?
My construction crew.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were doing the firehouses and EMS buildings at first, and then...
That's why I was confused. I thought you meant the EMS and the fire team were doing it with you.
I gotcha.
And I was going to be like, that's amazing.
Yeah,
did you film that?
That would be interesting.
That's why
It'd be something beyond calendars. Yeah, so we went from that, coatings got more popular. I got into, I became a floor coatings installer. We divided Mako Construction into Makeover Epoxy and made two companies basically. We wanted people that, were really good and their core competency was doing the same thing in repetition. So we had some issues with supply, like many people I think have over the years.
Especially when you are in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And so we thought, we'll just have something small, local, just for our stuff and just for the local contractors, that we knew around the area.
That's awesome.
So before we knew it, we had people coming in from Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, and they were driving hours because it was still easier than shipping stuff in. So, and in the world we live in, it's just, I guess, a little bit more convenient sometimes. So
a little tidbit of trivia that you don't know about me. It's not really about me, but it's my contacts and my friends, and we all talk and stuff like that. So I have a friend, Emil Jera.
Okay.
You know Emil?
I do not.
So one day he told me, hey, have you heard about this place in Lebanon, PA? And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And he said, well, I went to this guy wanted me to come to this training class. I think it was an outside sales guy. I want to come to this training class and was telling me about the products and everything. And I'm like, I don't know, no idea what you're talking about. And so he came over here and he came back and he called me and he's like, dude, you got to see what they got going on here. It's really awesome. They want me to come back and do some more stuff with them. Like, they're all over the place. They got everything. And it was mind-blowing to him what you were doing, and none of us knew about it. So it kind of came out of nowhere for me. And the next thing I know, I hear about Epoxy Depot in this location and Epoxy Depot, and like all of a sudden you're blowing up everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing to kind of to watch your rise, because it's been what, 3-4 years you said earlier today?
4 years in July. July 8th was 4 years.
That's an amazing growth in 4 years.
That's been intense.
Plus, do you still own your construction company too?
I do, yeah.
So how many other companies do you have?
6.
So you have 6 companies, and this one happens to be blowing up in 4 years all over the East Coast at the moment. And no, mostly the East Coast. Is that where you're mostly at right now?
Yeah, East Coast, and we're in Nashville and Ohio now.
Yeah, you're in Nashville now
east
too.
Side, so.
Yeah, that's another little fun little thing that I'm supposed to be teaching a training class the same weekend or Thursday and Friday that you guys are doing a class there too. So I can't come say hi or anything.
Sorry about the time.
It is what it is. It's no big deal. It's not an apology. It's the real world.
That's right.
So we are here at Epoxy Wars. Tell me how this all came about. How did it all get started?
The same way all great ideas get started, in a bar.
Speaking of, I'll take a drink to that.
Yeah. We had it was late after one of our advanced classes, and we just stopped. It's like a sports bar on the way home. It's actually across the street from the Epoxy Depot store in Harrisburg, called Gilligan's, and we were sitting in there and we were just kind of going back and forth about everybody's always. It's not like it's an original idea, like this should be a show, like everybody says that, right? So we just started, people were, drinks were going and whatnot, and people, were just kind of like saying random things, and normally, it's just something you talk about and then you go home and that's it. Well, I took my phone out and I just started slamming stuff into my notepad, and the next morning, like all the stuff that I would have inadvertently forgotten, I had all this information. So I went to work on, trademarking and stuff like that. Came up with a name for the concept, Epoxy Floor Wars. We originally wanted Floor Wars, but it's a dance competition, as it turns out.
Yes!
So we ended up with Epoxy Floor Wars.
Did you know I have a background in dance?
I did not. You learn something new every day.
I was a professional ballroom dancer for 7 years, and got into ballet and modern, and I ended up teaching at SCAD for a year in dance in the theater department instead of teaching in painting and drawing, which is what my background is.
You've been holding out on me. I could have saved a lot of money with my daughter's lessons.
It's been a little while. It's been 20 years. I retired a long time ago.
It's like a bicycle, probably.
It is. It's funny. I was talking to Jeff Hirschberger and Christopher Land when we were up in ASCC a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was telling them about it, and they, half the time people don't believe me, so they have to see something. So I showed them the video. I have photos and I have videos and stuff. And then I was telling them a story about like how I teach and how I had to teach, and I have to also be the girl. And so I was showing them what it looks like to be the guy and then what it looks like to be the girl. And they're just sitting there going, what can you do that again? I didn't film that. I'm like, no. And I've never done that in front of somebody in 20 years, and it blew their mind. They're like, I cannot believe what I just saw. So
that's great.
So this came to fruition, and then you said it took you almost 2 years to kind of put it all together?
Yeah, so it took about 14 months.
About 14 months.
Yeah. We put a post out, I think, I want to say January or February, don't quote me on that, this year, just to let people know in October, hey, there's going to be, we put a landing page up and we just kind of parked it because, it's busy season, you know how it is.
Yeah, right.
We had more stores that we were, working on and whatnot. So, we just kind of parked the idea and, had already committed to the dates to be October. So, we got into August, and I'm like, look, we don't even have an event space for this yet. we had just added on this 24,000 square feet space that we're in here.
So you didn't even have this space when you started planning this?
No. No.
Holy. Okay.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. So we added on this 24,000 square feet to the plant, and it just kind of started to take shape. There was a bunch of stuff in here parked for a long time, just material, overflow from our warehouse, because this is primarily a warehouse location. We don't sell out of here, so it's just a DC for us. But our corporate office is like 3 minutes down the road, so it's very convenient. So we got, I started painting all the black that's done on the top of the walls, like I did on, throughout the day or nights and weekends with the high lift that we have. And we have a Graco spray gun. I tried to get a paint contract in here, but they're like so backed up. And my construction guys and my subcontractors, we're into next year. So
you got your own crews and you still can't even get them to come.
I can't even do my own work. It was brutal. So, we got to 2 weeks away from the event, and, we still got pallets all in here. There's no stage built, so we started hammering, like double time. And we got everything painted, and it kind of last minute. People were like, yesterday, people were asking, so how long has it been, since you got the space ready? I'm like, today.
Yeah.
We were putting up banners this morning.
Yeah, I was here when you were still putting up banners the first day, yeah.
Yeah, there's, like Aaron worked all night, putting the sound system together, and, we worked late into the night, early hours of the morning, getting the video all set up. It's been a lot of work. So, all right. When we first got here, we got to see a list of instructions, rules, random weird criterias, and random weird destruction of the situation, and these. So how did all that come together? Like, how long did it take you guys to figure out a plan of how you were going to make this a competition and not just make it a show and watch people do their thing? It's more than that. There's a lot to the details of, like, especially me being a judge, there's a lot of detail going into what I have to pay attention to. And how did you come up with all of that? It's another great question. So we really, probably since July, both the Epoxy Depot team and the Wicked Colors team, we just kind of jump on quick conferences, and everybody's slamming busy, so they'd be 30 minutes maybe, a couple times a week, and we just throw ideas out there, and we just get everything written down. And then it was just kind of compiling that information, putting it together into what made sense, what didn't make sense, what's engaging, what's going to make somebody outside of the industry want to come into the industry, or at least be engaged by watching what we're doing when it's maybe something that's foreign to them.
Now, this has been live on YouTube and Facebook for the last 2 days.
Yeah.
But you're going to take this and turn it into more than that. You're just letting people see what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you're going to take all this footage and you're going to edit into more detail.
Yeah, so post-production should be done sometime around December. And then we have 5 different networks that are interested in the pilot. So they kind of gave us their criteria of what's expected, what they need, producers and stuff to work with. And that's kind of the next phase. So I don't know exactly what the future is going to hold for it yet, but we are going to break down the footage into individual modules. So this will be season 1. It'll be broken down into episodes, like 30-minute episodes, after we go through and clean up some of the content, the dead space. But it'll be, kind of raw and, the unscripted stuff that you've been seeing over the last few days. It's
going to be interesting because, and I was thinking, all of us judges talk about everything that we're seeing and all the details, and you have some of your staff that don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
Which is fine in a cool way, because then they're stopping and they're asking me, like, what's so important about what they're doing right now? And I'm like, well, if they don't prep properly, if they don't grind properly, if all they've done is vacuum, they haven't acetone washed anything at that point, and so we're explaining to them, we think that this is going to have a problem. We think this is going to be good. We think so. They're asking all these crazy questions that was interesting to me. And the tough thing about it is the beginning of this looks like they're not doing anything. It's just all prep. For hours, it was nothing but prep and preparation and getting ready for doing something. So the first day is going to be interesting on how you're going to break that down and not make it boring.
Yeah.
Now, of course, nothing was boring to us. We were geeking out about watching all this because we're not the ones doing it. And we're watching and we're going, this is how I would prep. And, we all had our own points of view.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to see how you take advantage of that and try to make it look interesting, because it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Sure. The second day is not going to be a challenge at all. Now, you have said to me, because the one thing about it all is we don't get to see what's going on. We don't get to hear what's going on. We don't know what the people on YouTube or Facebook are saying. We don't know what they're hearing. We had no idea for the first third of the day yesterday that you had mic'd both captains and that everybody could hear everything they were saying.
Yeah.
And then I had to go and tell everybody, hey, when you're talking to them, be careful, because everything they're saying back to you is going to be live.
Right.
And they're like, what? We had no idea. Caught us completely off guard.
Yeah.
And then you go into the next point and it's like, well, you should hear what they're saying on social media. And I'm like, what? And they have all this stream, all this conversation, all this stuff's going on, because we have no idea, that Brian's sitting there practically yelling at his team, trying to get them in their acting gear.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. It was really surprising, all the detail. And again, we're just talking about the prep. We're not even talking about getting into anything yet.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing this exciting, how do you say, not conversation, but this drama happening.
Yeah.
And we haven't even got into the good stuff until today.
Yep. One thing's for certain, our industry's got plenty of drama. That's not hard to come by.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think, kind of breaking it up, having the catastrophic disasters, and I'm going to be honest with you, like Wednesday when we were doing kind of the preliminary setup stuff for Thursday morning, that's like the final details of the rules were written. I just kind of blocked some time out. I went in with one of our team members, and I just started like going through like things that we had to have on there, and then we just kind of went to the catastrophic disasters, started putting names to them, like what's stuff that's realistic that does happen. Like, you do get rodents in the floor, you do get spiders and insects, and
without a doubt you do get ice thrown on. Not ice, but hail.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the one point to that is you don't get hail and rain on epoxy usually, because you're not really doing
Correct.
epoxy outside. But I guess you could if you were doing a flake floor, if you were doing like a flake pool deck. I'm not a big fan of doing that, but a lot of guys do it. So technically, it still could happen.
Yeah, it's a little stretching it outside of what.
But it makes it an entertaining show.
We just needed something, and then having Marky Mark was just.
He is the best.
He is a freaking character.
How did you find that guy?
Yeah, so again, one of our team members found him. He actually, I don't know where she found him from, but that was Marie. She's terrific, and basically what happened was she had interviewed multiple different people. We wanted like that. They had to have the right personality, and then he has a rock background. He's in Mini Kiss, which is like Gene Simmons' band.
His stories are insane of all the different things he does, from weddings to being a member of the Kiss tribute band.
Yeah.
Of Little People.
Yeah.
He told us today that he's a stripper also.
He's something else.
I've never met anybody like this person.
Yeah.
And for all of you listening, you'll see this probably by then, depending on when I post this.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting character that they brought in to not just add humor, but to just bring another kind of level of odd surprises to the show.
Yeah.
You can't make this stuff up kind of thing. It's hilarious constantly.
And we came and shot probably 2 weeks or so before the event was happening. I'm like, we need we were trying to explain what was going to happen, and I had this vision in my head, but like, how do you get that out without having the content already? You know, like next year is so easy because now we have it, but
yeah.
But you know, getting to this point, trying to get people to come to an event that they have no freaking clue what's supposed to be happening is a challenge.
Well, and I mean, first and foremost, I got to say, hats off to you for trying this, because even like Bob Harris was talking to you about it, like, we've all thought about these things, but we've never pushed the subject and finally said, we're going to do it, we're going to find a way to do it, and you have. And I don't see why it wouldn't be a success. I think you did a great job of thinking of so many details, including the disasters, because there are real world disasters that happen every single day on job sites. You never know what's going to happen. Yep. They're not a joke. We make fun of them the way that you put them together, and we make it a fun humor part, but it is real.
Yeah.
These things do happen.
Yeah.
You know, I have had a lizard on my epoxy. I have had a spider standing in it. You know, I have had water happen and come back the next day and then there was a water failure somewhere in the house. All these things are real no matter how you look at it. And to see how these guys are going to overcome these obstacles, it's amazing to see, first and foremost, a bunch of, like we've said all the last couple of days, we have a bunch of alphas on a team that are used to being the guy.
That's right.
And being in charge.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, first they have to listen to somebody else. Let's make this complicated. They have to listen to the guy in charge that they're used to being. And they got to work with 3 other guys that they've never worked with before in their lives.
Yeah.
So there's nothing easy about this at all. And it's a challenge for all of them because they're so used to doing it their way.
Yeah.
And that's not how it is. It's the captain's way. I don't even know if I could handle that. Like, if I wasn't the captain, I don't know if I could have handled it either.
The other thing is the captains that were selected here are kind of extreme on the alpha side, and they're very hands-on. And I knew it was going to be absolute murder for them not to be able to touch the floor, which was an early rule that I, you know, kind of conceptualized. Is like, don't let them. Originally, it was these teams were going to compete against each other. It was going to be a competition, but you know, as it developed, you know, we all agreed that, you know, they wouldn't touch the floor.
No, I think it was great that they could, but I'm glad that you allowed them to still be a coach.
Yeah.
That they're not just standing in the corner waiting for someone to ask them a question or an audible that they, you know, or a timeout and things like that. That they were allowed to walk around the whole entire time and at least point and try to explain to them what they needed them to do.
Yeah.
So they're very hands-on without actually touching anything.
Right.
Which I thought worked really well.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's extremely stressful for everybody because then you got them breathing down in your time sequences. It's not like you gave them an hour to do something. You gave them 5 minutes for this, 3 minutes for this, 15 minutes for this. You know, it's constantly changing. It's nonstop changing. There is no dead time where it's like, yeah, you know, I'm just going to do this by myself for an hour and no one's going to touch me or leave me, you know, and no one's going to talk to me and they're going to leave me alone. And I don't have a judge standing over top of me the entire time watching every detail. No, we were right there beside everybody, walking through everything, trying to stay out of their way. But we needed to see the details, how they were going to do it. You know, are they going to do it the way we would do it? Are they going to do it some other way that would work? Or is it just a total disaster? And there was moments where we were like, there's no way they're going to pull this off. And then the next day we're like, that was pretty cool. It's better than I expected it to be. We kept saying that over and over, especially the detailed textures on the overlays. Yeah. So you also added these challenges out of nowhere. Then you throw in another thing. You got your trivia challenges with the disasters, and then out of nowhere you have these random challenges that you have for the teams.
Yeah.
How did you come up with those?
So originally, we came up with the disasters from, you know, as things that Marky Mark could do to I think Isaiah's actually the one that came up with the inclement weather. We were sitting on my back patio at my house and he's like, you know, we had talked like we're gonna get this guy and he's like, I could just see him coming in like inclement weather, and you know, then we just started like adding these other things to it, and before you knew it, we had like a whole list of them. So we wanted to keep it engaging. That's why the 15 minutes, and they had only 2 people on the floor at a time. I can't take credit for it. It was a huge team.
I like the 15-minute thing. I think it's just enough time for two guys to do something, and there's not a lot of dead time for the two guys to just be out there too long.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like in a normal show, I would have think they probably would have given them an hour for all I know. You know, to keep changing it up, and they keep changing constantly, and every 15 minutes they jump. You know, I didn't even see today, did they actually change teammates? Because originally you have a set teammate, and then halfway through the day you were allowed to change if you wanted to.
Right.
And then this morning we were allowed to change anyway.
Yes.
Did they ever change teammates? Did you notice?
I think Blue Team changed this morning. They changed their lineup from yesterday. The pair that was going out, and then after intermission they were obviously allowed to switch back.
Right.
We have a lot of experience with classes. We do larger classes here. We have our training center, and then also we do individual classes in the stores every other month at each location. And we've been through a lot of the challenges that probably a lot of other people that do trainings have experienced, which is trying to keep people engaged. And we didn't want to have just that dead silence, like people sitting on their phones, like there's nothing going on. So we had to keep it, the energy in the room just at an all-time high all the time.
When people see this, I hope they understand that it's impossible to pull off the amount of work these guys are doing in 2 days.
Yeah.
2.5 days.
Ludicrous.
It's insane.
And then with the amount of pressure, I mean, just to do it without the pressure and without having these guys, they got butterflies from the cameras. I mean,
from the judges, live. You know, standing over them.
You guys are absolute savages. Like, everybody knows who you are in the industry. I mean, the panel is the mark is high. You guys are legends, and you know, having a panel is very intimidating like that. You know, when they were talking about stapling the joints, they said, you know, we were talking about crack fill, and Isaiah goes, they're not going to go for crack fill. Like, this is good. These joints got to be stapled. They got to be this. They got to be that. Like, it, you know, they're going to be grading this stuff. Like,
never would have crossed my mind to go that far.
Oh, well,
but that's me.
Yeah.
You're right, because Bob is like that. You know, Bob and Rebecca were both like, hey, that's the right way to do it. I'm sitting there going, I would have just chased the crack and filled it with rapids, you know, with a polyurea and be done with it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting watching yesterday. I know they had some, you know, tool malfunctions.
Yeah, they had trouble drilling because the drill bits weren't working very well.
Oh my God, it was something else. I know on maybe halfway through the day, I was watching probably 5.5 hours of the footage last night. It was up until almost 2 a.m. But I was just trying to go through stuff that was good or wasn't good from yesterday to today. If there was things we wanted to kind of audible and we made a couple tweaks, lied to them about a couple things, told them they could do things they couldn't, and then switched it up at the last minute. I think Isaiah's still mad at me.
I was going to say, we're still coming up with ideas to help you out and make it harder for them. We're not making it easier.
No.
The judges are not sitting here going, man, you're being mean. Let's not be so rude. We're like, no, let's go farther.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, you know, I was coming back from a new store location that we're going to be opening soon. And I had some time on the plane with my assistant, and I was like, hey, let's just bang through this history of Epoxy Depot module. We've never sat down and actually wrote that out. So, you know, that took probably 3.5 hours on the plane to get that written out. And I said, you know what we're going to do on the second day, the trivia questions are going to come from this. So we'll see how much they pay attention in the morning.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah. So
of course, I didn't have to because I'm a judge. It didn't matter for me.
And I was surprised. I mean, at the end of the day today, their last...
Oh, I couldn't believe they got that right.
Dates, like, they couldn't believe they got it right. I mean, they lost their mind.
One of the guys I was talking to was Jebediah, was like, he said, you don't even know the answer to that question probably.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do, but I've spent a lot of time with the stores. We call it Hell Week when we open the stores. I think it was 57 hours when we did the Nashville store, and that's, you know, framing, drywall, HVAC, like start to finish.
It didn't even cross my mind that you were in Nashville helping out with that when I was already planning to do this. I wish I would have met you then and we could have hung out. And next time you're in Nashville, man, you got to let me take you on a tour. I'm a good tour guide there.
We didn't have time.
No, but you know, next time when you do have time.
Yeah, when I come in, I'll definitely be looking.
I love taking people downtown and showing them how Nashville works.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah. It was,
so what's next?
Yeah, I mean, we're continuing the growth of Epoxy Depot. Obviously, for Floor Wars, we're looking forward to the future of kind of the different options that have presented themselves.
Well, are you thinking about, if everything works in a perfect world, let's look at it this way. In a perfect world, everything goes great, you put the whole show together, the show does well enough to do another one. Are you thinking next October, or are you thinking more like next March?
It's a great question. Yeah, so the dates have already been set.
Oh.
It's next October.
It is next October.
It is. It's a little earlier October, just because we want to stay away from, we pushed this back a little bit in August when we first fixed a hard date and didn't just say it's going to be October. So we do have it. There's a sign-ups that are going to be going on tomorrow after the event ends for people to sign up for new gladiators to come in, and there's some changes coming for next year. So we want to engage people a little bit more, and we're looking at doing a wider spread in the future as far as regional areas, and then like nationals as far as
I just thought of a good natural disaster, or not really a natural disaster, but another disaster. A random person in the audience has to come out and stain something.
I love it.
Because that would mess up their stain. Who knows how they would brush or spray or whatever the rule is.
I can just imagine the comments from the coaches now. I feel bad for that person. God help them.
Well, I want to thank you for doing all this, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I'm so happy to be here. I hope I get to be a part of it next time.
Absolutely.
It's been great to meet you and get to know you over the last couple days.
Yeah.
And I just can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this.
You're a class act. Appreciate you. I love your style. I love everything about you. So keep doing what you're doing, man.
Well, thank you very much, man.
Yep. Thank you.
Everybody have a great day. See you next time.
All right. We'll see you next time.
I want to thank Epoxy Depot for sponsoring this show. Go to epoxydepotusa.com and check out all their great products, training classes, and all the things they have to offer. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you for listening and have a great day.